Welcome. We're going to have fun today. I'm going to teach you some cool things to overcome failures and adversities. If you don't know about my work, I'm I'm emotional human in how I communicate and talk and share. I come from the heart of just who I am. But I do like to think things through logically. It's the football in me. If you see behind me, this football. It's when I played college football at Oregon, but I also played in the NFL. And so you learn how to do both. One, to manage and operate emotionally, but also how to be able to approach a solution so you can navigate those situations. We all have moments in time where we have to experience adversity and failure that allow us to grow. Growth day, right? There's always going to be something that pushes us to grow. But on the pathway to growth, we will also find stumbling blocks. We're going to at some point in time not do amazingly, right? That's just the nature of life. But I want to be able to approach it with a solution, because if not, we feel helpless and hopeless. If I feel like this thing took place and I failed and I can't overcome this opposition in front of me, this adversity, and I feel helpless and I feel hopeless, we start to just kind of get lethargic. We look at life as this thing we have to endure, and I don't want to endure life. I love to celebrate life, experience life. I want to do cool things in life, man. I want everybody to have the same feeling of like joy, right? So when I think about what we talk about today, I like to look at my years of football as an amazing teacher, right? Now, if you didn't play football, that's okay. Maybe you play something else. Maybe you played nothing at all. I'm going to give you insights. But here's the one great thing about football. Every single day, we have about 60 to 80 different opportunities to fail. And to be quite honest, most of them are bad plays, meaning I didn't read something properly. I missed a tackle. I missed something. Something went off in practice, right? And whether you're practicing chess, practicing football, practicing, throwing, pine cones at a tree, who knows? At some point in time in the journey of doing it, you learn things. You have a part where you failed a little bit. You encountered some adversity, right? For me, it was good because I had adversity of self, things I didn't do properly for myself in each play, but also when I would watch my film, I'd be against other people, and they would be in my immediate competition. I had to navigate these ups and downs. And the one good thing about it is you get so used to it that you almost get conditioned to push forward with the opportunity of failing and having adversity. I like adversity. I enjoy competition. In fact, this Sunday, for the first time in like a year, I'm going to bring my old man body to go play some flag football at a place nearby and have like a tournament, a flag football tournament. And I'm talking about kids like 20-something years old still. They could probably move way better than me, but I'm going to go compete because I like adversity. But the idea is I approach these situations now, not just at an emotional perspective, but a logical perspective. I do bring frameworks to teaching. And so I'm going to walk you through today this idea that's born of my experiences of being immersed, almost bathed in daily consistent adversity for like 13 years. Like consistent. And we've all had these things take place where every day you're faced with something nuanced and new. But football was a thing where that was the norm. And I sometimes forget, and sometimes you may forget, that you have this golden strength in you, this amazing ability and power. I lose sight of it so much because it's just normally who I am. This is who I am. I look at life this way. I kind of flow, and I forget that some people don't think this way. They don't operate this way. You have the exact same power in some area for yourself. But I want to think about this idea I had on a podcast maybe 2 weeks ago, and I did a video on it. I think a podcast on it a couple days ago. And here's what it was. It's a conversation with a guy who's telling me about the times in his life when he wasn't doing very well. He had stumbled. He had fallen down. He had failed in some aspects. His marriage had failed. He wasn't being a great human, but he found that he used to be a spec ops guy. Like the guy, I think he guarded the Iraq ambassador, the U.S. ambassador to Iraq. He protected him for many, many years. He has stories that I don't think I ever want to listen to because they might be kind of hard to hear, right? But this is a reality of his life. But he says, when he came home, he had this part of him that was a go-getter, who was tenacious. Same as you. There's a part that's tenacious, a go-getter. You operate in a certain way. However, that same mentality isn't brought to certain areas which he struggled in, right? He had this, if you give some situation in front of him, he's going to take it on. But he didn't look at himself and go, hey, I failed here in my marriage. How do I fix that? I'm not the best friend. How do I fix that? Right? He left those parts of him over there. And so what he did is he left these parts of him that weren't that great, weren't amazing, and he didn't really focus on them. And he realized that when he actually focused on something, he brought that best part of him, the tenacious part, towards it. But that's the best of him, his ability to be tenacious, to go after things. But he didn't bring the best of him to the worst of him. Like, think about this logic, right? He didn't bring the best parts of who he is in terms of his compassion, his work ethic, and all that to the areas he needed to improve in his relationships, in his marriage, in his career. He needed to improve in these areas. He didn't bring the best of him to the worst of him. And when he did at some point in time, now he's an author, does great things, right? But the idea is we need to look at that. How do we bring the best of us to the worst of us? And sometimes the worst of us is the part that doesn't believe in ourselves, believe in our ability, or the part that goes, you just stumbled, that's who you are. No, it's not who we are. We can always navigate and modify things. So I'm going to walk you through this process of thinking logically through how I have done this, the aspects of failure, and then how we tackle that, and then also adversity and how we tackle that. So I want you to get a piece of paper out if you have one, or you can just think in your head as you go down this whole process. But I want you to start framing it in, we have 6 different levels. There's going to be 1, 2, 3, align, 1, 2, 3. So here's how it works. It's called reframing failure. Title it that, reframing failure, and then have 1, 2, 3, align, 1, 2, 3. The top is going to be a word, and this word is going to be called abject failure. Now, abject failure is essentially this failure that's the end. It cannot become, you can't come back from it, can't be fixed. It's the end all be all of a situation. I call it, it's just abject. The pumpkin broke, somebody passed away, like I can't bring it back, right? And all these different things, just as a precursor, like it's all different levels of failure that we operate in so we can reframe it and extract a lesson and navigate to better, greener pastures in the future. That's why I'm teaching you this way. So the first we have is called abject failure. Below it, we have what's called structural failure, which means there's something big that took place. Like my marriage was a structural failure, right? There's something took place. If you guys know my story in the past, where my wife stepped out and the whole thing fell apart. Now we could have fixed it, but at the time, it wasn't going to happen. Like it was a structural failure, which means some piece broke that can be fixed, but it's going to be an overhaul to fix it. I'm talking, it's going to be a lot. So you go, this is too big. I don't feel like dealing with it. I'm moving on, right? Structural failure. It can be fixed, but the load and the weight of what it'll just be too much. The next one below, it's what's called glorious failure. Now, glorious failure means this thing's going up, and as opposed to even focus on fixing it, I'm going to go ahead and smoke a cigarette, watch it burn, and turn around and walk with like an action hero, just walk away from the fire burning, right? Like the action hero look, right? We're going to do all that. That's glorious failure. Now, these 3 failures are typically ones that are painful, difficult, and there's so much wrapped around it that when you go and bring your mind back to it, it hurts your heart to think about it. Ever had that happen? Like you have something, I can see your chats, I'm reading these over here, where you can have these things that are going on in your life that are like, man, it's just so heavy. Every time I think about it, I get so down. I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to think about it. I'm going to move on and just act like it never happened at all. And what happens, it just sits there and it stays in the background. And this is also what happens. Sometimes you feel ashamed of it. It brings a little bit of like sadness to who you are and what you've done. So what ends up happening is you don't focus on it, don't pay attention. You actually don't even move forward in your life 100%, because what if somebody brings that back up? What if it comes back to the forefront of discussion? So we end up doing is pulling ourselves away and we don't even really look at it. And then that becomes these things that float around and they keep us stuck in life. This is the area why so many people who fail get stuck in the failure space. They don't move past to do something great and grand because they failed at some point. It was a structural, it was an abject, or it was a glorious failure. And they go, that's who I am. I can do no more. I'm walking away. I'm done with this. It's too heavy. And so you get this whole mentality in the background running the entire actions of your day, which is, can I go do this? No, because I failed here. And I don't want that to happen again. It's too painful. Can I go and get in this relationship? No, I can't get in a relationship again because it was the last one. It failed. It was too painful. So I start this business because I have a passion to serve. I can't because the last one, it structurally failed and it's too much work for a business. I'm not going to do it, but I'm always going to yearn for it. I always want that, but I can't have it because I'm a failure in my mind, right? This is what happens for a lot of us. Becomes who we are. Someone put in here, it becomes your identity. It's too heavy, and that is what happens.
This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.